Good evening, everyone. At this time, at 7:02, I'd like to call the Wilmington Board of Selectmen meeting of Monday, April 13th, 2015 to order. All members are present, and to start the meeting, I would kindly ask that we all stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, and I'd ask Selectman Samaglia to lead us in that effort. Thank you.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Before we begin the meeting, I just wanted to acknowledge and personally thank all the members of the board, as well as the town manager, Mr. Jeffrey Hull and Beverly Dalton, for wearing an article of clothing that is blue this evening. As many of you know, April is Autism Awareness Month, and the board certainly makes every effort to support many worthy causes throughout this year and every year. And this year, we certainly are celebrating and supporting Autism Awareness Month, and I'm going to defer making any additional comments till later on in the evening, so I can allow other board members to make comments if they so choose under new business and committee reports. I do want to just briefly mention that I certainly appreciate the work of the manager's office and specifically the Wilmington Department of Public Works for their efforts to participate in lighting it up blue with the Wilmington Common, and I think the lighting there looks very, very nice as you drive through, especially at night, and I think it's fitting and appropriate and really shows that we as a community are uniting together for the benefit and awareness of autism. So thank you. Moving on to the transmitting of Treasury warrants 40, 40A, 41, 41A, 42, and 42A. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Motion's been made. Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor? Unanimous. Thank you. We don't have any minutes to approve this evening, so we are running about 5 minutes behind. I do apologize to those that are here this evening. We will start with our first appointment with Robert Peterson, Esquire, regarding public hearing on the application to transfer the all-alcohol license of Rocco's Restaurant, Inc., DBA Rocco's Restaurant, to CNC Restaurant Group, LLC, doing business as Rocco's Restaurant for the property located at 193 Main Street. Mr. Peterson, good evening.
Good evening, Madam Chairperson. Attorney Robert Peterson, 314 Main Street, for the applicant, CNC Restaurant Group. As I'm sure that all of you are aware, this is an application to transfer the existing liquor license from Rocco's, which has been in the DePasquale family since July 4th, 1941. Chuck and Denise are with me here this evening. This is Mr. Segura from CNC Restaurant Group, who is a manager of the LLC and will be the particular manager of this restaurant once the liquor license has been approved and transferred. Mr. Segura, Madam Chairperson and members of the board, is tip certified, and he assures me that when they take complete control of the restaurant, the entire staff, if not already tip certified, will also be tip certified. Mr. Segura has 30 years' experience in the restaurant business and is looking forward to his new experience at Rocco's.
Thank you.
I do have, Madam Chairperson, the return of all the green cards. All the service was returned on all.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, at this time, I'm going to turn it over to the manager to make some recommendations, and it is a public hearing, so I will be going to the audience as well as board members for any questions or comments, but I'll start with the manager at this time. Thank you.
I have a recommendation from the Police Department, Michael Bagonis, Police Chief. The Wilmington Police Department has reviewed the application for transfer request. All alcohol license submitted by Jose Coto, Selve Coto, and Joseph Sequera. Sorry about that. In the town of Wilmington. The police department has conducted a review of the interested parties and the entities listed and recommends approval. Memo from the building inspector, Al Spalding. I have reviewed the above-mentioned application, have no outstanding zoning issues. Memorandum from Shelley Newhouse, health director. Recommend approval of the application for CNC Restaurant Group LLC, DBA Rocco's Restaurant, 193 Main Street. That does it.
Okay. So at this time, it is a public hearing, so I'd like to turn it over to the audience. Is anyone here that would like to speak on this matter this evening? And if you would like to speak, if I could kindly ask that you identify yourself with your first and last name and your property address for the record.
My name is Rachel Kale. I live at 3 Dewey Avenue, Wilmington.
Good evening.
Hi.
If you have any questions or comments or anything you'd like to say.
I have a question. I'm not sure this is the appropriate venue, but I did speak to Mr. Hull about some issues
Yes.
that have been going on with the property.
Yes.
The gentleman that's purchasing the property actually did call me on Friday. I wasn't happy with his response.
Okay.
I actually, it's not only a safety issue, there's about 50 feet of chain link fencing between the restaurant, Dunkin' Donuts, and our street, and it's been down over 2 years. It's a safety issue. It's a issue of trash constantly having to be picked up from the dumpsters blowing over. It's almost every other daily thing. The fence has been down at least 2 years. Chuck and I have had conversations about it. It was apparently the responsibility of the man that owns Dunkin' Donuts, who was buying Rocco's. It never seemed to be taken care of. Last year, he was supposed to send out his landscaping company, and all they did is stuck some shrubs in. I do have pictures.
Just want to help you out with that. Just, I wanted to give you an opportunity to speak, but I do know that the town manager, Jeff Hull, who's right beside me, obviously, has been in touch with Attorney Peterson and has been in touch with me throughout the weekend. So I've been corresponding with Jeff and speaking with him on the phone Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and also to today to make sure that I have a proper understanding of some of your concerns. I understand it's with reference to the fencing. You also expressed some concern about the trash being secured and also the grease dumpster being secured as well. And so I'll certainly turn it over to the manager to have, and I also went out to the property today too as well before the meeting.
And speaking of autism, the other issue is I have my 11-year-old autistic grandson living with me.
Sure.
And this is, to him, a magnet. We can't, have him outside, or there's 10 feet of him being able to get into the parking lot.
Okay, understood. I'm going to turn it over to the manager just to characterize some of the conversations that he's had with Attorney Peterson. I'm sure that you'd want to make some comments as well, and then I also see Mr. DePasquale also raised his hand as well, so everyone will have an opportunity to speak, but we'll travel in that pathway if that's okay.
Let me just quickly, what he said to me on Friday was he was going to be away, he wasn't going to be at this meeting. When he came back, he and I could walk the fence line, and I could tell him what bothered me. To me, that's not saying, of course I'm going to fix the fence.
I can't speak for another gentleman, but I would...
But I'm saying that's the response, that's why I'm here.
Understood.
Because
Understood.
It's not a little fence drop down, you're talking at least 50 feet of fencing.
Understood.
And the other problem is, the kids getting off the buses. This is a cutaway through. Maddie told me last year he caught some kids shooting heroin by the dumpster. Well, if these kids can't access down to cut through, to get away from the parking lot, to get away from getting caught doing something, then it shouldn't be an issue. But there's absolutely no reason why there shouldn't be a fence up there. And the other issue is, this is where half the snow from the parking lot gets dumped, down the hill.
Okay, understood. Jack?
Yes, I did have at least a couple of conversations with Attorney Peterson about the issues that you raised, Ms. Kale. And he, in turn, has talked to his client, and in fact, as I understand it, and Attorney Peterson can certainly verify this, but the lease that is in place currently with the DePasquales does not, the responsibility for maintenance of the site, including the fencing, does not rest with the lessee, in this case, Mr. Cotto. So it's my understanding that that is the responsibility of the property owners. I know on Friday I took a ride over there, and the black fence that runs behind Rocco's has been reattached to the framing. I did go out earlier and notice that it was pulled away. I suspect perhaps some of the snow removal may have pushed it out, but that has been reattached. There's no question that the other fence behind Dunkin' Donuts still remains to be addressed. But it's my understanding, again, in speaking with Attorney Peterson, that once his client purchases the property, that they will take the necessary steps to address the fence behind Dunkin' Donuts within 30 days of the purchase, and also contain the grease containers that are out there. I did notice those as well, or two, if I recall. So from what I've been able to gather in my conversations, it sounds like the prospective owner is interested in squaring these issues away, but...
Okay, thank you.
Madam Chairperson, I would just confirm what Jeff has said, that I did speak to Mr. Kudo this morning, and I appreciate the town manager bringing that matter to my attention prior to the hearing. And Mr. Kudo has, in fact, agreed to replace the section of fence that's down to the entire length. There is a section Jeff referred to in the middle, kind of behind the restaurant, that's in decent shape, but everything to the left of that, to the property line, is in fact on the ground. And that fence, within 30 days of Mr. Kudo taking title to the property, he has agreed to replace.
Thank you.
And he's,
Full parking lot being closed?
I'm not,
Where that existing fence is now? There's about,
It'll go down the length.
yeah, I assume he's going to run it the length, because there are sections of it that are up and there are sections of it that are on the ground.
right,
It'll be run all the way to the end of the property line.
okay.
And he's also agreed, as the town manager has also indicated to the members of the board, to enclose the, in a locked, fenced-in area, the grease containers.
Thank you. Does anyone else want to speak on this topic this
I just
evening?
wanted to reiterate that
Yes.
whatever Rachel is asking, yes, that section that she's talking about is where the dumpsters were, and we moved them over quite a bit, 20, 25 feet. So that section was always opened up, and it was kind of a gray area. But I talked to Mr. Couteau the other day. He's assuring me that, like Mr. Peterson said, within 30 days, everything will be all done. You know, I know Mr. Hull was out there, and I saw him out there. There was some concerns about trash. There was a shopping cart out there. There was wood that was slowly getting, taken away. And once all the snow is gone, that the concerns will be gone. The two grease pins. That we have two, because the first one, when they were doing some snow removal, actually put a hole in one of the grease pins, and so that has to come out of there. So,
Understood.
Yeah.
I mean, certainly want to give everybody an opportunity to speak, but I just want to say that, I mean, we've had just one tremendous winter with mounds and mounds of snow, so, we're just starting to see the forest from the trees here.
because of the snow that was there. So.
Okay, yes.
We live at 1 Dewey, so we just came because we agreed with everything that Rachel has brought to you.
If you can just state your names for the
Oh,
record,
sorry,
that'd be great.
Deandra Murphy, we're at 1 Dewey Ave. We're the only other house on the block, and it's been something we've noticed. We haven't been in town that long, only a little over a year. But since we moved in, and the snow, even for taking away that it was a bad winter, we had a problem pretty much after the first storm, because like she said, all the snow comes through onto the street, and then the plows push it to the end, and we couldn't get out of our driveway, so we had to call Mr. Hull to get the snow removed to get out, and the trash, like she said, is becoming a bigger and bigger issue.
I think the good thing is that all the issues have been discussed, and I think all parties in the room want to work it out to everybody's satisfaction, so I'm pleased with what I'm hearing in terms of the intended resolution. Okay, at this time, does anyone else in the audience want to speak? Okay, hearing no one, at this point, I'm going to turn it over to the board members if anyone has any questions or comments.
I don't have any questions or comments at this time.
Okay.
Madam
Yeah.
Chair, I mean, I have no problem in voting in favor of this, and just make a quick comment. I understand exactly what you're saying, ma'am. I'm sure everything's going to be taken care of. I have to believe what the new owner's going to do, and I see Mr. DePasquale shaking his head up and down. And perhaps, as the chairperson said, it was the worst winter on record, and I totally agree with you. And I do support it, and I just want to say that, I want to, wish the owners good luck, obviously subject to the vote, and I just want to make that comment to you that.
No, I mean, Jeff and I have had a great
Oh,
relationship for, 15 years. It's just, I'm not feeling the love, let's say.
I think I know a little bit about the restaurant business. If he puts a fence around the grease trap and the dumpster, you're going to be totally fine in that, yeah.
These are on wheels.
Yeah, no, I understand
You get a
that.
bunch of kids, middle of the night, say, let's flip that right over, and then that's gonna happen. I mean, Chuck can tell you a few years ago, they got into his dumpsters with liquor bottles and threw them all, about 30 liquor bottles, threw them all over the street, broke them all over my street. So, things happen during the night. So,
I'm glad they'll be addressed. Thank you.
Matty sent them up to clean them up and stuff, but, I'm
Thank you,
just
Madam
looking
Chair.
out for, and the thing on wheels, somebody bumps one with a car and it's gonna come right down the hill and somebody's gonna be cleaning up grease.
Okay, thank you. Yes.
Again, concerns about the grease bin on wheels is going away. Once the other grease bin goes away and they replace it with the permanent grease bin. Yeah. And then Mr. Couture has already said that he's going to enclose that grease.
Without
dumpster.
wheels. There you go.
Yeah.
Understood. Thank you. Okay. Anyone else? All right. Would anyone like to make a motion to grant the request?
I would just, Madam Chair,
Yes.
suggest that the board make the following motion to move that the Board of Selectmen approve the application for the transfer of the all-alcohol license of Rocco's Restaurant, Inc., DBA Rocco's Restaurant, to C&C Restaurant Group, LLC, DBA Rocco's Restaurant, located at 193 Main Street, and further that a determination is made that the license is not detrimental to the educational activities of the Learning Express located on Main Street.
Would anyone like to make a motion to that effect?
So moved.
Second for
Second, I
discussion?
have one
Second for
question.
discussion.
I'll second it.
I recognize some of the language there is based on the statute and the proximity of something. What's the facility that the managers was referencing in that? 'Cause I can't
Learning
picture.
Express?
This is
Yeah.
behind Sonic and...
Oh, all right, I got you,
Yeah.
okay.
Okay, so the motion's made and seconded. All those in favor? Unanimous.
Yes.
I did just have one question for Attorney Peterson, that is whether the certificate of a good standing is available?
It is not. The certificate is pending.
Okay.
Mr. Hull, as we discussed this morning, there was a very small amount of back taxes that were due that have been paid, and the certificate was applied for. We were actually hoping to have it. We have a control number for the certificate.
Okay.
I mean, obviously, if the board would like to make the approval contingent on that, I'd be more, ABCC would reject the application anyway without the certificate, but I'd be happy to provide it to the board as well as have to provide it to the ABCC anyway.
Right, I don't anticipate it being an issue. As you pointed out, the ABCC will need that to sign off, so at this point, the Form 43 would be signed by the board and sent to the ABCC, and everything's pending that document.
And I will be sure to send a copy of the certificate to the board once it's granted.
Once it's granted, I don't have a problem with it.
Anyone else have any concerns?
Would there be a time frame on when the reviews would have to be done?
It's indicated within 30 days from the transfer of title, which, is it, Attorney Peterson, is it projected to be May 7th?
Yes, it is, Madam
Okay, so May-
Chairperson.
May 7th is the anticipated transfer of title, and 30 days from that date, within that range. Thank you.
Can I just have 2 seconds? I didn't want to, the comment I have isn't in the context of the vote we were about to take, so I didn't feel it appropriate to bring it up, but if I could ask your indulgence just for a second. I don't know if another opportunity will present itself, so I certainly want to say, Mr. Segura, congratulations and welcome and good luck, hopefully. You do very well there, but I didn't want to let the opportunity slide by with Chuck in the room to not say thank you, Chuck, for a couple of generations' worth of great service to our community. Thank you for all that you've done for so many organizations through the years and continue to. It's Rocco's has been and will continue to be very dear to many, many people in this community. So thank you and good luck to you, everything that you pursue going forward.
Mike.
So moving on to our next appointment, which is also with Attorney Robert Peterson for the request of CNC Restaurant Group LLC, doing business as Rocco's Restaurant, to obtain a common victual license for the property located at 193 Main Street. Attorney Peterson.
Madam Chairman, I believe that all is in order with the application. I would be more than happy to answer any questions that the board may have relative to the license.
Everything looked in order? Any questions or comments?
Should provide recommendations.
And recommendations, Chair?
Recommendations from the building inspector, Al Spalding. After review and consideration of the town of Wilmington bylaws and all applicable codes, I have no outstanding zoning issues with the above-mentioned business. Recommendation from Shelley Newhouse, Health Director. I recommend approval of the application for common victualer's license to C&C Restaurant Group LLC, doing business as Rocco's Restaurant, 193 Main Street.
Thank you. So hearing positive recommendations, would anyone like to make a motion to grant the request?
I'll move to grant the request of the common victuals license for C&C Restaurant Group, LLC, doing business as Rocco's Restaurant.
Motion's been made, do we have a second?
Second.
Okay. Motion's been made and seconded. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Unanimous. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chairperson, members of the board. Thank you.
Good luck. Good luck.
Thank you, good luck.
Thank you and your family for many years. Thank you. Here you go. That's just the one. Thank you. Very nice.
Okay, moving on to our next appointment for 7:20, Board of Selectmen discussion for FY 2016 budget. This agenda item is on, per the request of Selectman Newhouse, and so at this point, I'm going to turn it over to him, and the floor is yours.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you to you and to the manager for scheduling that. I actually had requested some statistical information from the manager, which he's provided. I didn't give him a whole lot of time to respond to that request. He got it to me today, so I need to review that, and then I presume that I'll anticipate putting it on the next agenda if that's the chair's pleasure.
Okay, all right. Thank you. Since it's a scheduled appointment, do we go into communications and then pause that till 7:30? Can we go right into it?
You can go right into it, right.
Right, okay. So the next appointment is with Judith L. O'Connell, Chairman, with reference to the presentation of the Board of Selectmen Annual Report for calendar year 2014. And so I'd like to read the message into the record and for the benefit of the board, which will also be featured as stated in the annual report. So if I can just kindly ask for the board's indulgence as I read this aloud. Dear fellow resident, on behalf of the Board of Selectmen, it is with great honor that I submit our annual report highlighting the board's work during the course of 2014. While the national and regional economy showed signs of recovery, the town of Wilmington saw several positive indicators of an improving economy. Supporting existing and prospective businesses remains a major priority for the board. The retailer Target opened for business in October, providing employment opportunities and additional shopping choices locally. Osram Sylvania, an international manufacturer specializing in lighting for the industrial, commercial, and retail sectors, announced its plans to relocate its home office from Danvers to Wilmington. Easy access to Interstate 93 for its employees and customers, and the responsiveness of town government departments to their requests for assistance were some of the factors that led to their decision to come to Wilmington. Red Heat Tavern and Tremizo Restaurante are two additional examples of businesses opening this year that provide employment and dining options for residents. The opening and expansion of other businesses, small and large, are positive indications that Wilmington remains a desirable community for businesses of varying size and type. Their success translates to success for the town both through additional tax revenue as well as contributing to a vibrant community full of options and opportunities for our residents. The board remains attentive to efforts to complete the construction of the new Wilmington High School. With the project appeal behind us, extensive work has been completed on the building and associated supporting systems. Selectman Michael Newhouse has served as the Selectman's designee on the High School Building Committee, and he continues to update board members on the construction based on project updates from regularly scheduled public meetings of the High School Building Committee. We are pleased with the progress of the work and look forward to the opening of the new school in February of 2015. In addition, the board remains focused on expanding recreational opportunities for individuals and families in town. The town purchased 9 Cross Street in 2013 with the intention of creating a new recreation facility for both athletic and passive uses. After an extensive concept design process, which involved 2 public surveys and multiple design workshops, the committee has completed the concept design. Through the process, ideas and concepts were identified, with some not deemed appropriate or affordable for the Cross Street project. However, some of these exciting possibilities are currently being investigated for other sites and funding, which includes a dog park and an enhancement of our existing town walking trails. The design of 9 Cross Street includes a multi-use artificial turf field, 2 combination basketball street hockey courts, picnic areas, play structures for multiple age groups, and an open green for unstructured use. The next step will be to engage in design development to establish the details and estimated costs for the project in preparation for construction. The Board of Selectmen learned in early 2014 that the current owner of the Eleanor M. Rastusha Memorial Arena, located on Main Street, was seeking to sell the facility. Wilmington takes great pride in supporting each of its various sports programs. While most other sports are provided with a place to play, Wilmington does not currently provide a place for ice hockey and skating. Wilmington's various hockey and figure skating groups must practice and compete on out-of-town ice. The Selectmen recognize the expression of interest in selling the rink as a key opportunity to provide a much-desired recreational asset to the town. In 2014, the town manager, working with the Board of Selectmen, evaluated the asset's potential, the financial impact, and the approach that could be utilized for acquiring and operating the Rastusha Rink as a municipal rink. After a great deal of research and analysis, the Board of Selectmen called a special town meeting in December of 2014 to request the authorization to purchase the rink. Having passed overwhelmingly, the town is now poised to negotiate the purchase of the rink in the coming year. The board has been closely monitoring the proposal for a natural gas line through a portion of North Wilmington. A presentation from representatives of Kinder Morgan touted the value of this gas line to the region. While the board recognizes the need to address the regional demand for energy, board members also are concerned about the many impacts that such a pipeline on residents in certain geographical areas in Wilmington it will have. The fact that the proposed pipeline passes in close proximity to residential properties in the Browns Crossing and Salem Street well fields, part of the town's drinking water supply, raises serious concern. The board will continue to work with the town manager in evaluating this proposal on an ongoing basis. As board members, we are privileged to serve you and to work with so many dedicated employees and enthusiastic volunteers. The board wishes to specifically acknowledge the hard work and dedication of the town manager and his team. With the capable assistance of the town's dedicated employees, the town sustained its level of services, increased its capital reserves, and worked to improve the quality of life for its residents, businesses, and volunteer organizations. Volunteers are essential to the operation of town government and the delivery of services. We extend a heartfelt thank you to these residents who, in spite of their busy lives, believe it is their civic duty to support efforts to make Wilmington a better place to live, work, and play. In closing, on behalf of the Board of Selectmen, I wish to thank the residents for placing your trust in us to lead the town in a direction that we believe will continue to build upon the inviting, vibrant, and proud community that we know to be the town of Wilmington. Respectfully submitted, Judith L. O'Connell, Chairman of the Wilmington Board of Selectmen. Thank you. Okay, moving on to communications.
Yes, the first item is a memorandum from Mike Woods, Director of Public Works, and this addresses the Glen Road project. There was a recent meeting at the end of March 30th, with District 4, which is the Mass DOT office that serves Wilmington. A company by the name of MDR Construction is the apparent low bidder on this project at $1,276,696.67. The expectation is that they will start their work between mid-April and mid-May. Work performed is slated to run from Monday to Friday between 8:30 a.m. and 4 p.m. DPW will notify abutters in the school department prior to work starting. Majority of this cost is paid by the state. Coordination will also occur with the school project. I've had several conversations during our working group meetings to make Gilbane aware of this project.
Jeff, I'm sorry, maybe it's here, I just don't see it, or maybe we've heard it before. I know the start date is anticipated to be imminently, anytime now between now and the middle of May. How long will it take to complete? Is that estimated at all, or is it, do we know when they expect it to be, is it a fall?
According to Mike Woods, the contractor believes that he may be able to complete the project in the fall of this year. I tend to believe that may be a little bit optimistic. He's required by contract to have it completed by October of 16.
16, okay, very well. Thank you.
Also, correspondence from Mike Woods regarding the Winter Recovery Assistance Program, otherwise known as RAP. This was money that the governor provided to cities and towns. It was about $30 million that was sent out directly to assist cities and towns in making repairs associated with the impact from the winter season. In the case of Wilmington, we received $113,604 for repairs to roads, guardrails, storm grates, and signage. The superintendent and I have talked about the proposed work to be done, and as is identified here, the plan is to replace guardrails in need of replacement at the following locations: Concord Street, 1,500 linear feet; Salem Street, Route 62, 962 linear feet; North Intermediate School area, 40 linear feet; Church Street, Route 62, 50 feet; and then Chestnut Street, approximately 80 feet. The plan also involves the overlay of a section of Phillips Ave with 1.5 inches of bituminous concrete for approximately 1,200 feet. The estimated quotes for these items are close to the amount that the Commonwealth has offered, so that work is slated to happen. In fact, the funds have to be expended by the end of the fiscal year, so before June 30. Next under correspondence is the memorandum that I sent to the town clerk. This is with regard to the annual town meeting requirement to make a determination on the status of particular property that is being sought for purchase or redevelopment. In this case, there are four parties that are involved. The first case involves Article 36, which is the property that is known as the Butters Farm property. This property is being deemed surplus. As you know from prior conversations, the plan is to put this up for sale and to seek to obtain a purchaser who is interested in historic preservation and living in a historic home with the premise that they would purchase the property and then restore the property to its appropriate condition. Next is Article 44, and that is Map 6, Parcel 18. This particular request has been made multiple times over the last few years. The property is down off of Walnut and Poplar in that area. This property is deemed not surplus to the town's needs. Also, Articles 45 and 46, Map 6, Parcel 21, same area and same petitioner. Again, this has been requested in previous years, and the property is deemed not surplus. Finally, Article 48, which is Map 49, Parcel 5. This property is actually off of 129 over near the 99's Alder Street. This property is deemed surplus, and based upon the assessor's evaluation, the minimum value is $8,500. Next is a memorandum from the town clerk to John Doherty, Chair of the Finance Committee, Judy O'Connell, Chair of the Board of Selectmen, and Jim Stewart, current town moderator, just informing them, this is per the bylaw, that there are 2 vacancies currently on the Finance Committee. Also, the terms of Richard Hayden and Bernard Nally will be expiring in 2015. Next, under correspondence, is a letter from Marianne Galezzo. She's writing to Chairman O'Connell, indicating it has recently come to my attention that there are 2 vacant seats on the Finance Committee. Please find attached a letter of interest to fulfill one of the vacant seats. I stand willing and able to fulfill the position immediately if appointed.
Yes, Madam Chair.
Just a quick question. I assume this is a mistake, but I have to go back. I didn't catch it the first time through here. The 2 Finance Committee members, Mr. Hayden and Mr. Nally, will expire as of April 30th of 2015. That's before town meeting.
No, actually,
I'm assuming it's the
yeah.
end of town meeting, right?
Yes.
All right.
Yeah. Yeah. Next, under correspondence, is a bulletin from the Massachusetts Municipal Association advising that the City of Boston is going to be observing a One Boston Day in honor of the, or in recognition of the 2-year anniversary of the Boston Marathon bombing. You will recall, unfortunately, at 2:49 p.m. on that day, we had a horrific incident involving the death of 4 individuals, one of whom is one of our own, Sean Collier, Martin Richard, Crystal Campbell, and Lou Lingzi, as well as a number of injuries to innocent observers of the race. And so this is intended to suggest that communities also have a moment of silence for that event. Next is a memorandum or a bulletin from the Mass Municipal Association seeking action from cities and towns to contact our federal delegation with regard to requesting that Congress approve the request by Governor Baker to declare the 28-day period from the end of January through February eligible for disaster funding. He has noted that the state and the various municipalities incurred over $400 million in costs. He is seeking reimbursement from the federal government. The federal government would reimburse 75% of the cost, or approximately $300 million.
Madam Chair, I just want to ask the manager a quick
Yes.
question, if you could. Jeff, obviously you appropriate snow and ice. Did we end up going over that by any chance? How's that?
Yes, we are over on snow and ice. The rough number is 1.2 million. The budget is approximately 550,000. The expectation is that during the town meeting, I will be looking for a transfer, as we have done in the past with various items within the general government budget, and the same would apply here to address that overage.
Reimbursement too? All right.
Yep.
Very good, thank you.
Next is a bulletin from the Mass Municipal Association, just noting that the legislature enacted the $200 million in Chapter 90 funds for cities and towns. This is something that typically happens annually, and these Chapter 90 funds allow cities and towns to maintain our roadways and fences and all of our infrastructure associated with the roadways. So this is certainly good news for the town. I would note that in addition to the $113,604, our portion of this $200 million is $1 million, just get the number. Well, the combined amount between the two is about $1.25 million that we will be receiving in funds to address our roadways.
I trust you, you and Mr. Woods have a fair collection of projects on the radar screen to
Yes.
dip into that pretty quickly, I imagine?
Oh, yes, absolutely. There's a list every year. The Public Works Director goes through with his staff and identifies the roads that are priorities, and there is a slate of projects to go forward this year. In some measure, it becomes weather-dependent. Obviously, we're constrained in terms of the window of opportunity, so to speak, on when work can be done. It typically happens between, May and October, November at the latest, so we're up against it in terms of the clock, but we do have a list, yeah.
And historically, even though Chapter 90 funds had been allocated, oftentimes the governor in the past years would hold back on a portion of it, which would sort of injure or thwart your ability to do some of those projects. And does this, if this in fact becomes released, then you can, at this stage in the relatively early stage in the year, that affords you the ability with Mr. Woods to blaze forward and get these projects on the schedule, right?
That's right. Initially, you may recall, Governor Patrick, the request was brought forward for $300 million. The legislature had authorized that. He had instead signed off on $200 million, so there was $100 million still being held. One of the first actions that Governor Baker took upon taking office was to release that other $100 million. Then subsequent to that, there was the $30 million money that I just talked about, and now the $200 million. So collectively, $330 million.
Thank you. That's good news.
Next is a correspondence to Gary DePalmer. He is a representative from the Democratic Town Committee, and as is the case every year, there's a request per the bylaws that he identify and respond to the town in terms of the individual, in this case, Alice Hooper, whose term on the Board of Registrars is coming up, and the request is simply to advise whether or not he's requesting she be reappointed, or and that deadline is April 30th. We have correspondence from Barbara Metcalf from Tewksbury Wilmington Emblem Club, and she's advising the board that the installation of officers is occurring on April 26th at the Elks Lodge. Buffet at noon, installation at 1, is inviting board members to attend. If any board member is interested, if you could please just let Beverly know, and she will make arrangements. Correspondence from Deacon James F. Greer, who's the director of the chaplaincy programs at the Archdiocese of Boston. This is an invitation to attend a presentation on October 4, 2015, 11:30 a.m. at the Cathedral of the Holy Cross. It's basically to honor the public safety personnel and their families for the work and sacrifices that they have made. So again, if there is interest in attending, if you could please let Beverly know.
Thank you. Moving on to board to consider items, please.
The first item under board to consider, Wilmington Sons of Italy and the Wilmington band parents are seeking to use the Swain School parking lot on Saturday, May 16th from 7 a.m. to 5:30 p.m. For the purpose of conducting a yard sale to raise funds. I have confirmed with the school department that they don't have any activities that would conflict.
Okay, would anyone like to make a motion to grant this request?
So moved, Madam Chair.
Motion's been made, do we have a second?
Second.
All those in favor? Unanimous. Thank you.
Next is the request from the Recreation Director, Debbie Cipriani, for use of the town common for the concerts on the common. Be a request to use the town common and the gazebo. The concerts are slated for Wednesday, July 8th, Wednesday, July 15th, Wednesday, July 22nd, and Wednesday, July 29th. Rain dates would be the following Saturdays, the following Thursdays, or July 9, 16, 23, or 30. Concert times are 6:30 p.m. to 8 p.m.
Okay. Would anyone, and actually positive recommendations on that, Jeff, in terms of any sort of
Yes, there's
town
no-
issues? Please,
no
all
issues
right,
there.
okay. So, having heard that, would anyone like to make a motion to grant the request?
So moved.
Motion's been made, we have a second. Any discussion? All
Yes, I
those-
have discussion.
Okay.
I think, given the amount of pain and anguish that we've all suffered with the snow and ice and the increased costs, that it gives me particularly great pleasure to vote and to be even having a conversation about summer concerts. So I just wanted to put that on the radar screen, that it's interesting that in one meeting we can be talking about snow and ice and summer concerts. It's happy times that we have upon us.
You live in New England, right?
Right.
Exactly. So motion's been made, we have a second, and we had discussion. All those in favor? Unanimous. Thank you. Okay. moving
Next
on.
under Board to consider is a request to renew the license of Robert Flaherty Jewelers. This is the second-hand dealer's license. You may recall a few months ago, he came forward looking to obtain the license. It was a shorter license because it currently expires as of May 1st. That license was granted. He's now looking for a full one-year license for a fee of $100. I have a recommendation from Chief Pagonis. Wilmington Police Department has reviewed the request made by Paul Flaherty of Robert P. Flaherty Jewelers, 248 Main Street, for a secondhand dealer's license request. Police Department recommends approval of the request. A recommendation from the Fire Department. Wilmington Fire Department recommends approval of the license renewal application submitted to the town of Wilmington for the business located at 248 Main Street, identified as Robert P. Flaherty Jewelers. Recommendation from the building inspector. After review and consideration of the town of Wilmington bylaw and all applicable codes, I have no outstanding zoning issues with the above mentioned business. And then Pam McKenzie notes that she recommends approval of the application.
Okay. Any questions, comments, or motion?
Move to grant the request.
Okay, motion's been made, have a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Unanimous. Thank you. Okay. Just pause for a quick second. Public comments. Anyone this evening?
One's next week, but not this week.
Not tonight.
Not
You all set tonight?
Yeah, I'd like
Okay.
to ask some follow-up questions next week, though.
Okay.
Next time.
Thank you. All right. Hearing nothing further. Moving on to new business and committee reports, and I'll start on my right, please.
Madam Chair, just, I think, one item that I have at this point. Thank you for continuing the tradition here of demonstrating support for autism awareness. I won't bore people with a lot of information, but I thought it might be a productive use of time just to rattle off some statistics that I think are pretty compelling in terms of autism. At this time, more than 3.5 million Americans live with autism. Excuse me. At this time, 1 in 42 are boys. 1 in 68 children is diagnosed. The prevalence has increased each year from 6% to 5% from 2002 to 2010. The annual cost of services are approximately $236 billion to $262 billion here in the United States. And over the last 10 years, the estimated annual cost has been 200 to 400, in the next 10 years, the estimated annual cost will be anywhere from 200 to 400 billion dollars based on the prevalence and the increase in the diagnoses in the last 10 years. 35% of adults aged 19 to 23 who are diagnosed do not have a job. That's it.
Thank you. Okay, anything on my left?
I just want to echo what Ms. Newell said. I totally agree with everything he's saying, and I share his concern. And as kids graduate through the school system, I believe, what is it, at age 22, I believe from that point on, there's very few things that they can do from the Commonwealth of Mass for assistance. They do what they can, but that is something that I think we need to contact our legislators and ask them to see what else they can do above and beyond. When our children get through the school system, you know, they're citizens too, and they deserve everything that everyone else can have. And if that means we have to make a little sacrifice, so be it. And I would really love for that discussion to take place someday. I'm sure they do what they can, but I think if we can do a little more, that means a lot to the families, because there's a big burden on families. But it's a lovable thing. And as far as I'm concerned, it's not a burden. It's a lovable thing, and we need to help our kids as much as possible. Thank you.
Well said. I have great admiration and respect for anyone that deals with these challenges in their life and their families. So I appreciate you, Madam Chair, for continuing that tradition as well, and Mike for the statistics and that information you shared with us. I'm better informed. I did not admittedly have an awful lot of knowledge or awareness of this issue prior to it really becoming prominent on the radar screen, and so I thank you for bringing extra information to me. Just one, if I may, on a separate line of discussion, I wanted to compliment you, Madam Chair, for your annual report presentation this evening. You wrote a very well-articulated letter to the town. I highlighted a number of things. I won't go through the highlights. At some point, perhaps we can chat, and I'll tell you what my thoughts were on them. They were all positive. But one thing that really stuck out for me, and it was actually stuck out more this evening, was that Osram Sylvania said that one of the factors that they considered was the responsiveness of town government and departments to their requests for assistance were some of the factors that led to their decision. Among all the other advantages to locating your business in Wilmington, one of them is in the responsiveness of our town government. So my compliments to you, Jeff, and to all those that work under your direction here at Town Hall. That's a testament to the good works that you're doing. Lastly, if I may, I also want to pay tribute to and acknowledge Jeff, and I guess Kendra, if you don't mind, bring this to her, that I know that she had made a communication out to all town employees, and I believe that she's going to be tweeting and doing some other social media activities to bring awareness to the community of the moment of silence on April 15th, that you mentioned earlier today. I hope that businesses and individuals out there will take that charge and try to schedule it themselves. The town can't make you do this, but we're doing our part to sort of communicate this out. So I'm really encouraging folks to take a few moments on the 15th to just reflect on the events of that day. Lastly, Jeff's going to go through important dates, but I want to make sure that as spring comes along, we're all getting busy, and the backyard needs a lot of work, and everyone has a lot of things to do around the house, and I acknowledge and appreciate that, and sports are kicking up and everything else. But on the 25th is Election Day, and I encourage everyone to please just carve out a few moments and get to the polls. And on the 2nd of May is town meeting, and I really encourage people to carve out some time. It is a sacrifice, but it's also a duty in some regards, and it's the best example of our of our democratic process. So please participate in the local civics on those special days. Thank you.
Thank you. Just want to make a couple quick comments as well. I just want to thank everyone for participating once again in support of autism awareness. I think the comments that have been made, speak for themselves. I just wanted to share as a side note, this weekend I was invited to go to the grand opening of the Lundgren Art Center at Lesley University, and it happened to be a Wilmington resident who is a client as well, who is a professor for special education. And she puts on a symposium every year specifically for autism, and she's been part of the back end of things in terms of writing a lot of the bills that have passed through Massachusetts for autism. And I just wanted to say this just specifically from Mr. Newhouse's comment about children and young adults or adults with autism and employment. Is something that came out of that symposium is that they're very specifically trying to focus on how to embrace people with autism and get them gainfully employed. And this symposium featured 3 artists who are young adults. Actually, one is an older woman, that they are nationally accomplished artists, and I was able to see their artwork. And it was absolutely unbelievable. I posted some pictures online, social media, and it just was amazing, the response. There was press there, the news stations were there, and their intent is to actually try and open up a center that has all people with autism that actually are going to work there as employees. So she's really excited about that, and I just wanted to say that, just that, people do recognize trying to work with educators so that they are trained to work to the best of their ability to, engage and break through the creativity and the amazing talents that these men and women have, and I saw it expressed in art. So I just wanted to say that as a positive comment of just how blown away I was with the talent and the accomplishments of these 3 artists. And they, I was able to sit with them and talk with them and engage with them, and it was really something special. So it was really great. I also wanted to just comment, if I could, I know Jeff's going to talk about important dates, but I just wanted to reiterate that the 9 Cross Street, formerly Yentile Farm, redevelopment presentation is happening on Wednesday, April 15th. It's going to start at 7 p.m. at the middle school auditorium. This is the design firm that's coming in, so we have our, the entire team will be there to give a very detailed presentation to the town so that everyone is informed of all of the pricing, the components. You'll see some 3D renderings there, and it's going to be the last public forum before we go to town meeting to ask for the major appropriation. So I'm hoping, I understand and I respect that you all have very busy schedules, but if you can please pass the word to as many people as you know to try and encourage participation to be there. And if you can join, obviously we'd love to have you, but really pleased with the work that's being done. The fundraising subcommittee, which is headed up by Ed Brixtons, he's been working on getting our website established, working with getting the Friends of 9 Cross Street established, and it's going to be separate from the town for financial involvement. And I'm not participating in the finance committee, just the finance aspect of the committee, just based on my role as a selectman and being chair. So I'm totally keeping tabs on that, but I'm not actively involved, and really am pleased with what work they've done, and I really appreciate Jeff's help and Kendra's help to do a lot of work for us during the day at Town Hall. So I just want to let everyone know that we're moving on with that, and more to follow. Okay, so important dates. Thank you.
Important dates. First, we have brush drop-off coming up on April 15th, Old Main Street, 8 a.m. to 2 p.m. Also, April 15th, Tiny Tots Kids Club registration, Town Hall, 5 p.m. to 6:30 p.m. A Yentile Farm redevelopment presentation, as was previously noted, 7 p.m. on the 15th at the middle school auditorium. April 16th is the next high school building committee meeting, Town Hall, room 9, 6:30. April 18th is Wilmington Little League opening day. I would just note on this, I've had multiple email communications with Rick Hill from Little League, and for a while it was looking like there may need to be a change, and I guess it's still not completely certain. In talking with Mike Woods, Public Works Director, he believes that he'll have the fields ready to go by Wednesday. I did, as late as this afternoon, follow up with Mr. Hill, and he indicates that they are targeting the 18th, but apparently the forecast calls for rain on Friday and into Saturday, so it still remains to be seen. April 18th, brush drop-off, Old Main Street, 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. April 20th, Town Hall closed for Patriots' Day. April 21st to 25th is the curbside collection of yard waste. April 22nd, brush drop-off, Old Main Street, 8 a.m. to 2 p.m. April 25th, brush drop-off, Old Main Street, 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. Again, on April 25th is the annual town election. Polls open 8 a.m. and will close at 8 p.m. April 25th, Earth Day Fair, Reading Municipal Light Department, 230 Ash Street, 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. April 26th is the Weir 1 Wilmington 5K road race and run and walk in honor of Kim Forte. Then April 27th is the next Board of Selectmen's meeting. May 2nd is the annual town meeting at the high school auditorium at 10:30. And I would, if I could, Madam Chair, just ask or point out one other date. May 8th at 7 p.m. at the Knights of Columbus is the Good Guy Award evening. If any members of the board who have not already spoken with Beverly and are interested in attending, if you could please just let her know, and she'll make arrangements for tickets.
Okay, all set? All set? Okay. All right, at this point, I'd entertain a motion to adjourn, please. Motion's been made, do we have a second? All those in favor? Okay, aye, unanimous. Thank you, good night.